So, Sandra, it's very interesting that there's been a few people have read your book so far. We've been lucky enough to get it into a bookstore in town.
Fantastic.
We were over there this morning, so that's really, really good. And you were talking just before we started recording there. You've had a couple of people that have came in and were very surprised at, dare I say, your dalliance into, albeit very briefly, prostitution.
Yeah, but that's the thing. People have to understand under certain circumstances and situations, you're not forced, but you have to do things. And it's no good somebody criticising and saying, oh my goodness, I could never do that. I'd have run a million miles away. I couldn't do it. But nobody knows until you're in that situation that you will do it without even thinking that you know in your heart of hearts it's something you don't want to do, you're not happy to do, but in the situation that I was in, you did it because there could have been you were threatened with very big consequences.
Now, I understand all that, but me having sat down with you and written the book together, there was also a little element of excitement, wasn't there?
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because you're going into something unknown, and I suppose you behave a bit like a, call it in old-fashioned terms, a brazen hussy.
Yeah, tart, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you think to yourself, well, why not give this a go? Something you never envisaged that you could do.
And you described the last time we had a recording, an interview session, that you were dressed up to the nines. I think you mentioned hot pants and white leather boots.
Yeah.
And obviously all the men are looking at you, and that in itself has to be a little bit of a thrill.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Of course it is. You know, unfortunately, when you compare how that was when I was 29, 30 years old, to today, women can't do that. A man can't even look at a woman without being accused of something terrible.
Yeah.
But in those days, if you were dressed up and you walked down the street and men wolf whistled you, looked at you and all the rest of it, you were very, very thrilled and everything like that, that you were noticed out of a crowd of people.
Yeah.
And it did happen when I was doing that, when I was walking in central London, that a guy crossed over the street, ran over to me and said, "Hey, I think you're fantastic," and everything like that, and your adrenaline rushes up, you smile and everything, and he took out a card and he said, "Get in touch with me, I'm in the film business,"
guy, yeah, I remember.
And everything, you know, like that.
Writing about it.
What kind of film he produced or anything like that, you didn't know. But the fact that somebody did that.
But where did the society change, Sandra? Getting off the subject of your book, where did society change where women, ladies, girls enjoyed being looked at?
I wasn't. I mean, I left England, but I think it all came down when I heard that even a young guy on a building thing, he wasn't allowed anymore to wolf whistle at a girl in the street.
That
and it's gone downhill since then.
That happened about 10 years ago. I remember
it's gone downhill.
The Sun, and not that I've ever read the Sun, but I remember they had the headline that some young builder was being prosecuted for sexual harassment because he whistled at a woman.
But every girl I knew, every woman I knew, every young girl loved it. A guy would wolf whistle at them, and you'd pump up put your shoulders back, and you appreciated it. You know, you got something out of it. But today, God, I wouldn't like to be a young woman today.
But they're coming back to the thrill factor. I mean, you you didn't exactly walk the streets because you picked a couple of men up in a bar, didn't you?
It was always in the Cumberland Hotel.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I don't know what it is like today, but in those days, there weren't all these weird people going around. You know, it was quite a natural thing for a young woman, and there were loads of them that went into bars, even during the day, like I did. I was during the day, it wasn't, well, it was early evening. and met men.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, it wasn't frowned on or anything like that. The hotel were only too pleased, I think.
So moving on from that period, because we've discussed that a little bit at the previous interview, but moving on to that period, one of the things that I really think is one of the greatest stories in the book, and there's many of them, but one of the greatest stories in the book for me is the caravan story. The Argentine, Guillermo, suddenly announced you were going to go on holiday with Joanne, your daughter. We're going to have 6 weeks. We're going to go to Spain, Portugal, Morocco. Let's go and buy a caravan. Take up the story from there.
I went with him once and I saw beautiful caravans. But he said, no, he said, they're this. He just wasn't very keen on one of these new ones. And he went for an older one. And I said, why? He said, well, I think they're better for us for travelling. The older ones are made better than the new ones, are more flimsy. And get the older caravan, which he did.
Which you did, yeah.
It was his money. He was buying it, not me.
Mm-hmm. So pick up the story. So off you went on what would really have been at the time the holiday of a lifetime.
Yeah.
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 Describe the holiday to me. And then I'll get back to the return journey.
Remember Spain in those days, well, it was still under Franco.
Mm-hmm.
There was no motorways. There was all little country lanes and that. And it was picturesque in many, many ways.
And this
exciting.
Would be the 70s? 70s?
Joanne was 5.
Mm-hmm.
So 1970, she was born in 66.
So 70s,
yeah.
Early 70s.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And wherever you went, buying different food, because I was cooking. We didn't go to restaurants or anything like that because there weren't any.
Mm-hmm.
Just travelling around. He had his Opel car with the caravan on the back. He'd made it very comfortable. Joanne was absolutely ecstatic. She loved it, in and out and everything like that. And we went just all over, just absolutely all over.
You went to a gypsy camp one night, didn't you? Tell us about the gypsy.
That was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
We stopped off, don't ask me where, somewhere in the middle of Spain. And there was a few other caravans around. So Guillermo thought it was good to camp up here. I don't think he realised that they were gypsies right then. But once we stopped and parked up,